We met up with my mates at the riverside. It was brilliant in the evenings because the sun would shine off it just enough to make the water turn gold. When we were younger, we would believe there was a chest underground with loads of gold or riches, and the person who buried it was obviously telling us about it. Of course, we spent summers digging for it, and sometimes winters. Today it seemed a bit strange. It looked like the gold had been taken, like there was nothing reflecting off it. But that was the last thing on my friend's mind. Payback was in order, and this time it was going to be Aaron who was going to get it. Oscar pushed him into the water as soon as he got off his bike. I stopped him and explained that we had an agreement that it wouldn't be too extreme because he was so sorry and things, you know. I also meant it to be because we had a bit of a scare. Aaron was thankful for speaking up for him, but because he was struggling really badly, holding back the tears as the thoughts of his sister seeped into his mind. I got the locket out of my pocket from earlier where I put it in and passed it to him. His eyes sparkled and then he thanked me. I felt sorry for the poor boy. He seemed like he was going through hell. Right, you have to run through the cornfield and then back here. It will take you about 5 minutes, so you've got 4 minutes to do it, of course. If you fail, you have to swim the river naked. Oscar and Sade were pleased with their dare. They must have been thinking it up for hours. Aaron looked at me for backup, just like... I shrugged. I couldn't stop them doing it, and I know we were forbidden from entering the cornfield, but the one next to our house, not this one. He must have reached the same logic because he got on his knee and started tying up his shoelace, ready to run. Ready? I murmured. A nod to agree, and then he was off. Corn shoots bent as Aaron crushed them with his speed. Oscar and Sade looked at me with suspicion. What has happened to you? You were so scared of everything, and you're backing him up. I grumbled at their question, but explained what had happened earlier in the evening. Their faces were white once I had finished, and then their attention turned to the field. 3 minutes, I hope he's okay. I was worrying about it now, because if the man had actually got hold of him, it would be all my fault. 2 children in a day, I thought. How terrible. Suddenly the sound of running footsteps came closer. I looked over to see Aaron run with it like a madman. His eyes were wild and his face red. The edge of the field was so near when he tripped. I saw him hit the ground and wind himself. Fear overcame me, and so I sprinted over to him, here on my knee. The best word to put it? Tear. From all stress. I picked him up quickly so we could get out and left. And the fear that was hitting me that the man would be there, and just to the left of us was a man with a great big smile smacked across his face. It was so unhuman, that smile, but he was a man. He looked like one. He looked like a Joker. Batman was the best description, without the makeup and the stupid costume whatever he wears. Just a normal pair of jeans and a t-shirt that said, I can't remember actually. Just had white writing. His head turned to the side like a dog does when they're trying to work out something or what's going on. Can I play? I want to play your dare game. Can I give you a dare? You know, like to bounce this ball 3 times. You know, the one I gave you earlier, without screaming. He looked at me, and my reply to his sick joke of a game? Okay. But only this time. And I'm going to play over there with my friends. You stay here And you can still see me, right? The man nodded and rolled the ball over to me. I grabbed the ball, and then Aaron, who was still breathing heavily. I held the ball in my hands carefully as we made it over the river. The man in the fields was watching us, and he wanted me to do this dare. My friends' faces dropped, and they questioned me with their eyes, not with their lips, with their eyes. I said, I will only play once, and that's it, you know. He dared me to bounce the ball 3 times. How bad can that be? And without screaming, I shrugged and bounced the ball once. It bounced nicely back, just like my old ball. The second time, great, it was wicked. Third time, it hit the ground and came up in midair. Then to explode in between all 4 of us. Something splashed my face, making me flinch away from the scene. Sade opened her eyes first, and then she screamed loudly. My reaction was to respond quickly with my eyes to open. Red paint everywhere. No, not paint. Blood. On the floor laid a heart, and it was pumping blood still, squirting blood out. And it started slowing down pumping and turning darker until it turned black and completely stopped pumping. I thought to myself, why won't Sade stop screaming? She's making it worse. Until I realised it was me. Aaron had rolled into the river, washing the blood off him, turning water into a copper colour. Oscar was shocked. He couldn't move. He didn't even move. I stumbled into the river to wash off the blood, and then realised I was bleeding too. My knee had started to bleed badly. Clots were forming, but it kept bleeding. I was in no mood to cry or to scream or to do anything else. I just used a spare bandage in my pocket to wrap it around my knee. Sade and Oscar had joined us too in the water. Soon the water went dead, and so did the noise. Not even the breeze made a noise. It was silent. We waited for the voice in the cornfield to speak. You failed, and now you have to forfeit. Now all of you will have to be my friends, because I am lonely, and you need someone to play with. I need someone to play with. That was when I was 12. I am now 25 and in the same place where the incident had happened. Sitting where the heart had died. We burnt the heart, of course, and threw the ashes into the river. Couldn't completely burn it, I guess. It just wouldn't die. And when we did set it alight, it screamed. It didn't faze us. He never left us alone. He still hasn't left me alone. And as I write this, he's watching me in the field. I can see him over my laptop. It turns out it was Aaron's sister that was killed. The parents came 3 o'clock in the morning, and not wanting to be a pain to us, they went straight home without getting Aaron first. That saved his life, really. They were found mutilated the day after. And the nanny was tied up. She saw them die and so was driven mad by the gruesome scenes. And all she repeats every time I see her is that smile. That inhuman smile. He said you've seen it. He said you're friends with him. That inhuman smile. That smile. Oscar was the first one of us to be affected by the cornfield man. One night, he was sleeping when he heard his name being called from outside. Thinking it was us, he placed his face up to the window to see the cornfield man. He asked us to come outside and play because he couldn't in the morning due to he was busy. Oscar agreed, and he was found dead the next morning by his dad after hearing a volley of screams in the night, and he had to go and search a field just in case it was an animal. A note was left to body next to his body saying this whole story, not saying a cornfield man, but saying that he wanted to play. It also said he failed the dare, so he had to forfeit, and his forfeit is now his death. It was as simple as killing his little sister Amy, smothering her with a pillow. He couldn't do it. He was my least favourite. We went to a funeral, and there was a cornfield man. For the first time, the smile had turned into a frown face. He must have thought what an inconvenience to his life. A few more killings to people who were passing through this time. Again, mutilated remains. The heart always taken. I knew what for. Each kill, each day, a heart on my doorstep. Mum and Dad never saw it. I would always go out in the garden and it would be there. Each time I burn it and each time it screamed. Aaron lived with me now, after his parents died, and we became really good friends. A relationship was forming between us, and Said had other relationships, and that's when she was killed. This was 3 years after Oscar's death, and it was so huge. A huge shock to me and Aaron. And Said was playing around with one of her boyfriends from California. They both must have gone into the fields because a note was left by the body of Said saying, "She betrayed me, but a stupid prick of a guy. He took her with a sweep and she left me in the cornfield. So they both had to pay." The guy's body was found in a tree in parts. So me and Aaron are left. Neither of us brave enough to fall in a relationship because the cornfield man is watching us. I think the last time I spoke to him was probably a few months after Said died. I stormed outside with anger in my heart and started screaming his name. Of course, Aaron was behind me, begging me not to come back, not to go close to him, to come back. About 6 foot away in front of me stood the cornfield man. I didn't see him that close for a very long time, but the smiles always seemed to stick. He wasn't smiling as big, but it was still a smile. He was worried that I was angry. "What's wrong, little friends? You seem upset." He said this voice in a mocking but sympathetic way. "What's wrong? You keep killing my friends because they don't complete your stupid dares. And soon people are going to start moving away because of you. You're never going to have any friends." I was so angry, but I couldn't shout properly at this thing. I was a kid. "Oh, sorry, little buddy, but can you play a game with me one time and that's it? Just for now. Please, and I promise I won't hurt you if you fail. If you're not in the fields, of course." He walked towards me and as I walked back. And again, we made these steps until I reached the edge where Aaron held my hand for the first time. "Fine, what do you want to play?" He got really close to the edge of the field, pointing to and looked at me. "I want to play the waiting game. I could wait for years and years and see who cracks first, kill yourself. And the other person will be my best friend forever. The smile had returned on the cornfield's face. I nodded and looked at Aaron. His face was in face. It, of course, has been a very long time. And he's called the cornfield killer now. And people around the world have come to see him. No sightings, but people keep looking, and each time there's a killing, there's a heart on my doorstep. Always. He has to make one every month at least. I can just see him now beyond the cornfield edge. And he's still smiling. It won't be very long. Me and Aaron have had enough of his mocking, of his games, so we thought we'd do it together. Just kill each other. Kill ourselves. Oh. That's strange. The smile has gone and the anger has replaced it. Ooh, who would have thought that smile would disappear?